This conference will now be recorded.
Excellent. All right. And then we have someone calling in with no name. Okay.
I'm back.
All right. Can you hear me? Great.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Great. We'll give a couple of the committee members a little more time, and then we'll jump in here pretty soon. Hi, Lee. How are you doing?
Oh,
Welcome. I'm going to keep everybody on mute if that's okay. Okay. Hi, Karen. I know you're on the phone right now, and you'll call or you'll get to your computer as soon as possible. She's the mysterious caller number one. So we have Alex, Karen, Deputy Chief. Okay, and then Captain. Okay. Wait a little bit longer for Tom. Tom should be joining us as well. Welcome, Diana. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Check. All right. So give Tom about 2 more minutes and then we'll jump right in. I just want to be conscious of everyone's time here. Okay, great. Okay, all right, let's jump in. I just followed up with Tom, so we'll see if he joins us here pretty soon. Good evening, everyone. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote participation. Recording of this event, this meeting, will be made available along with the minutes on our website. You can visit us at somervillema.gov/biosafety. I would like to thank everyone for joining us this evening as we work through our agenda items. The committee has undergone some recent staffing changes, as we can see today. So we appreciate the patience of all of our applicants, our committee members, as well as the public as we work to restaff and bring everyone up to speed. I know it's been a little bit since our last meeting, so thank you. I'd like to move to our first agenda item tonight, which is going to be a brief introduction of our two newest members, HHS Representative Karen Carroll, who also serves as the HHS Director for the city, as well as for fire prevention. We have Chief William Hallahan and Captain Otting, who's here this evening. Tim Bakery will also be here to assist on matters concerning biosafety and the city's response to emergency issues. Karen, of course, will be here to advise on health and human services issues and perspectives on public health. So welcome to all of you. I'm looking very much forward to working with you and serving on this committee as we tackle these important issues in discussions. So thank you. Now I'd like to move to agenda item number 2, just some brief updates on the open community rep and academic expert positions, the interviews and recommendations that we've come to. So that has closed, and our recommendations have been sent to the mayor's office. We'll be waiting for a response in the hopefully coming weeks. So we conducted 11 interviews. So thank you to staff, committee members who were able to take time out of your busy schedules to assist with those interviews. Of the 25 applications we reviewed, we received some excellent candidates, and we hope that even though they may not have secured positions here on the committee officially, that they will be able to join us in an unofficial capacity and provide us with their expertise and perspective. So again, I'll be sure to keep everyone in the loop with the mayor's office decisions, and I'll be sure to contact those of you who assisted with interviews with the recommended candidates for any additional information that they're asking for. So thank you. I'd now like to move to agenda item number 3, which is really the bread and butter of tonight, which will be reviewing a series of renewal applications we have from last year's permitted operations, specifically for Celerity Inc., LaRonda, Tessera, Generate Biomedicines, each of which is located at the 101 South Street space. So all applications have been received, processed, and distributed to members for review. The contents of them are exactly the same, barring one important document, which we're going to be discussing tonight, which are the IBC documents, and we'll discuss a little bit about what those are. Everyone has had time to review those over the past month or so, so if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand with the raise hand button, and we'll be sure to discuss those. So IBC documents are internal biosafety committee documents. These are the internal meetings that each of these operations conducts annually or semi-annually to go over some of the projects that they're working on, the safety measures they're taking, and any changes that are being made to those specific projects or the space itself. RC has arrived. Welcome. All right, good. So each submission is going to be roughly the same, except for these IBC documents, which is really the emphasis of what I wanted to discuss tonight to ensure that these places can have renewal. These documents provide a lot of transparency for us. Community representatives sit on these committees internally to vote as voting members and as a notification way for the community to be notified of any changes in research. So we're going to jump right in. So I want to bring up Celerity's IBC notes for review. Essentially, how I'm thinking of doing this is we're going to review the projects that they're working on as a brief introduction, talk about some of the issues that were brought up, and then ultimately what the vote was on each of those projects. So for Celerity Inc., the first project was the cloning and purification of plasmid DNA. Project number 2 is the transient transfection of ectopic gene expression and siRNA knockdown. Project 3 is the production of lentivirus for entopic gene expression and CRISPR-Cas9 knockdown, essentially to generate lentivirus for transduction of mammalian cells in the research. So in the facility, it's all BSL-2 practices. So all of the PPE and safety measures that go along with that, which is good to see. Even for BSL-1 type work, they're taking those extra precautions, and that was discussed in their committee meeting. There were no reported changes to the facility. Community representatives were present and voting in this meeting. Each project received unanimous approval. And in reviewing the IBC notes, there were no real issues brought up internally concerning safety of each of the projects or any of the practices that were being utilized to ensure the health and safety of staff or the general community or the community at large. Additionally, all of the documentation was presented to us and all required submissions were given to us and complete. So I was wondering if anyone had any questions about this particular renewal, and if not, I would like to move to vote for approval. Any questions or comments on Celerity's IBC? Yeah, Lee, you are unmuted. Or now you're unmuted. Try to click the request. Lee, try again. It still says you're muted. Sorry.
There, now you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Okay, so sorry. For all of them, I would have just the question, since I don't have the documents, whether
Yes.
they have updated so that they're complying with the new ordinance rather than the old 1994 ordinance, and particularly for Generate Biomedicines, who only disclosed a recombinant DNA project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get to Generate Biomedicines here pretty soon, Lee. They're the last one we're going to review, and we'll discuss with our IBC documents discussed. But each one of these are in compliance with their submissions to the current ordinance, and just in terms of the documents they're providing and information they're giving us. So yeah, great question. Thank you. But we'll get to them soon. Great. Any other questions or comments, or do I have a second to move to voting for approval for this application?
Well, and I'll give you a second nomination.
Excellent. Thank you. So our Chief Hallahan, vote to approve or disapprove?
Approve.
Approve. Alex Vera,
Approve.
Karen Carroll, Karen, can you hear us? Oh, she can't unmute. Oh, oof. So we can't quite vote. Okay, we'll hold off on voting. Sorry, I'd like to rescind that. We'll hold off on voting until the end when Karen can finally join us as a voting member. I know Captain Otting is here, but we can't have two votes from fire. I'm sorry. It's sort of just like one vote together.
Colin,
But
I was
we'll
just
wait
going
for
to
Karen.
suggest if you wanted to entertain, perhaps Karen could vote by chat box if there's a way to record that.
Oh, yes, that is a great way. Karen, are you able to vote? Well, she's on her phone. That may be the only problem. She's dialing in. Yeah. So let's save voting for the renewals. We'll do it in one big package together instead when Karen can join us. Great. Okay, so I'd like to move on to LaRonda's IBC notes in quick review. Their project is harnessing the potential of endless RNA, and we'll call it eRNA molecules, as a novel therapeutic agent utilizing lentiviral vectors to deliver rDNA cultures in a genome-wide CRISPR-Cas9 screen to identify cellular pathways that affect eRNA. So at this facility, all labs on the 4th floor are designated as BSL2, except for the tissue culture room, which on the floor and plot plan is 4015, that is designated as a BSL2 enhanced, with biosafety cabinets dedicated to lentil-viral work and incubators reserved only for BSL2 lentivirus samples, or BSL2 enhanced lentivirus samples, to avoid cross-contamination. So those are the types of safety measures we'd like to see in place, in addition to signs being posted on the doors, as well as biosafety cabinets and incubators. So taking those extra measures and including additional PPE when handling those lentiviral samples.
Hey, Colin, I had a question about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
I know that, that's not really like a official level, the enhanced two. Do they have like
Yeah.
is there like an exclusionary area that they do these things in? Like that people can't like come and go from that area?
Yeah, those will have additional layers of physical security, so doorways. And if you'll look on the floor plan provided in that application, you'll see culture tissue room. It's 4015 to located in the building. If you would like to review that, that area is designated as BSL2 enhanced. So additional posting, additional, physical doorways to enter, as well as PPE requirements. So that's a great question.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Again, community representatives were present and voting in this meeting. Each project received unanimous approval. So there were no issues with anything that was being presented, and the vote was unanimous. Great. Anyone have any questions about that IBC report, that summary? All right. Seeing none, we will move to the next section, which is the Tessera IBC notes review, or the IBC review. There are 3 projects taking place at Tessera, which is project 1 is using the SynBis virus for directed evolution-based protein engineering of mammalian cell lines. Project 2 is the lentiviral vector libraries to generate cells stably, producing mobile genetic elements for purification and characterization. And project 3 is transiently expressed gene writers and multiple cell lines to test the therapeutic potential of constructs. All work is being done at bench scale in their lab area designated as BSL2 on the 3rd, 5th, and 7th floors. Community representatives were present and voting in this meeting. Each project received a unanimous approval with no questions or discussions or alterations to the projects taking place or the floor. So any questions about the Tessera IBC report? Seeing none, I will move to Generate Biomedicines IBC review and notes. Do we have anyone else joining us? Sorry, it's just popping up. Great. There are 4 projects taking place in Generate's space. The first one is candidate genes inserted into PET and pcDNA expression systems. Project 2 is a lentiviral particle being purchased commercially, but in many cases being generated where they'll utilize internal expression protocols using mammalian expression hosts. Project 3 is the vesicular stomacis virus, complemented by the expression of different entry and envelope proteins, VSV antigenome, VSV helper expression plasmids will be transfected to a BHK21 WI2 cell to produce both single cycle and replication competent pseudotyped VSVs. Project 4, researchers explained that the HIV-1 packaging plasmids and candidate viral entry and envelope genes will be inserted into mammalian expression vector using non-pathogenic bacteria. They noted that for this workflow and handling of the virus will be conducted under stringent BSL2 enhanced practices, with all work being segregated to clearly labeled virus-only biosafety cabinets and incubators. All laboratory spaces are designated as BSL2 and BSL2 enhanced, specifically for Project 4. Community representatives were present and voting at this meeting. Each project received unanimous approval. Does anyone have any questions about Generate Biomedicines? Karen, welcome. Oh, great. Okay.
Sorry. I'm here.
No problem. Welcome, welcome. Does anyone have any questions about the IBC report from Generate Biomedicines? Lee, would you like to follow up, or was your initial question answered? Here. Yeah, it's funky on here. I can't just automatically unmute someone. It sends a unmute request.
Excuse me, I forgot to hit the thing.
No problem.
For all the ones that are level 2 enhanced, is the physical entry through a level 2 lab, or is it direct from the exterior?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. So that is Project 4. Let me pull that up. Apologies. I'm just going to pull this up for everyone to see. Okay. Share my screen. Entire screen. Share. Okay, great. Can everyone see that?
No.
No?
No, if you just give me the answer, it's too small for me to read here on my screen.
Yeah, no, this is the explanation that they provided here. I'm not sure how much more I can zoom in. How is that, Lee? How is that for you?
Yeah, I can see it.
Great. So researchers explained that the HIV-1 packaging plasmids and viral entry envelope genes will be inserted. They explained commercial purchase for vectors. Okay, great. Commercially, okay, recombinant immortalized cells. Handling of the virus will be conducted under. There's nothing specified as to how the rooms are set up, and it actually doesn't specify which room specifically the practices are being conducted in. Though we do have the floor plan, and we could review that.
Yeah, I see the end. It doesn't really tell us about access. It does say that great precautions are being taken, but
yes,
especially since level 2s are under your internal rules, candidates for upgrading to BSL3, and BSL3 does require access, does prohibit direct access. It requires access through a level 2 lab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was actually the next point I was going to make. The recommendation here was to approve, but also invite Generate here to explain Project 4 a little more clearly for the community to understand and get a little more intricate understanding of what's occurring there from point A to to point B. So that was in my notes to bring up when voting. So thank you for bringing it up. That is something we will absolutely do. And I think it'll be really interesting for us to have at the next meeting.
Hey, Colin, you said on number 2 that there was a tissue sample room that was level 2 plus.
Yeah.
Is that go through the level 2 lab? Was there a floor? There's a floor plan for that, but I'm sorry, I'm not looking at it.
Yeah, there is a floor plan, but if I remember correctly, the floor plan didn't really specify. Let me see which levels there. Let me pull it up. Let's actually look at the floor plan. Let's see if they do. I want to floor plans. Okay, great. Okay, all right. Wow, another very, very small situation. Oh, so it does. Yes. Okay. So BSL2 into BSL2 enhanced space. It looks like, I wish that wasn't so small, and it's in terrible color. Gold or cold room here. So that's the situation now. Can everyone see that? Does that make things a little clearer as to the pathway? Oh, geez. Okay. Well, that definitely doesn't help.
Oops.
There we go. Does that? Yeah. Okay. So engines, exits.
So,
Okay.
so where is the access?
So the access looks like it's
Is it through
here
the blue boxes or through the corridor?
through the corridor. Yeah, here, right? Maybe Fire could provide me a little insight as to schematics and floor plans a little bit. That is a doorway entering, correct? They weren't just kind of showing it's an access in. It's access out, cold room. So the cold room doesn't look like it. And there's 2 entry points here, actually 3 entry points into each of the. So it looks like incubators and benches and with hoods here. Same thing here and here. And it looks like it's direct access from a BSL2. And then there's an entry point here as well. Okay, so there's a closed off space to the BSL2, and then direct entryway from the corridor to the BSL2 enhanced. And there's 3 entry points for the 3 spaces here. Good. Okay. Yeah. Let's look if there are any other additional BSL2s. Oh, so there are additional ones listed on the floor plan. Sorry. Here. Great. Same sort of thing. So entry point here into the BSL2, and then also entryways to the BSL2 enhanced in these spaces. So that's on the 9th floor. So yeah, the 8th and 9th. Those are the 2. Great. Does that make things clearer? Again, I still would like to invite Generate Biomedicines here to explain the protocols occurring before entrance to the BSL2 and potentially even before the BSL2 enhanced to see if there's some additional precautions being taken here before entry. Yeah. Does that satisfy your question, Lee, for the time being?
Well, I'm not sure I understand what I'm looking at. So
Yeah.
it's something you might want to put directly to them when they come.
Yeah, definitely. A full explanation. I would like a breakdown of their processes when handling and transporting anything that's coming in and out of here. That would be helpful.
Colin, to piggyback
Yes.
on Lee's observations and questions, this would be an important point for Fire to follow up in terms of life safety and incident response. If there were to be a medical need for personnel working in these spaces,
Yeah.
we would just want for Generate Biomedicines to clarify their protocols. For example, if there are a series of locked doors or if there are other steps that would need to be taken, whether they will provide a staff member to meet our personnel. And then also just to clarify, in event of a building emergency that would require evacuation, what their plans are if it's a process that, for example, would be complicated to be interrupted. So again, just following up on Lee's observations about egress and entry and the control, and then your point on transport throughout the building when that needs to occur. For our purposes, we want to know, again, just in terms of clarifying response and protocols.
Yeah, absolutely, Captain. And we'll be sure to do that when we invite them and maybe ahead of time so that they can clarify that in a presentation that I'll recommend that they give and ensure or make it mandatory essentially for them to do. So we'll be sure to do that. Absolutely. Great. Any other comments on any of the IBC reviews that we did here? I know committee members have received these and have been able to review them, but if there's anything else we can clarify, we can, if not, we can move to a vote, but if there are any other questions, please let me know. All right. Okay. Seeing none, I would like to move to vote on items 4 or 3A through D. Can I get a second? Oh, sorry, Lee, go ahead.
Just a question before you vote.
Yes.
It's a question to Alex, if any of these are customers of his company such that he would want to recuse himself from one of the votes.
I can check into that. I don't know offhand. I think I've looked at Tessera and LaRonde, and I don't believe they're customers, but I know I haven't looked at Generate. I could look very quickly, actually.
Okay.
It's not a big deal, but it's just a matter of form.
Of course. Yeah, thank you for bringing up Lee. Alex, is that something you can do fairly quickly? Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to rush. just asking.
Colin, I'll give you a second while you're waiting.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And apologies if you hear Coco Melon upstairs. My kiddos are blasting Coco Melon and having a great time, so apologies for that.
Okay, so apparently Celerity is not a customer, and Tessera, LaRonde, and Generate are customers of
Our customers.
the company I work for.
Okay. So Alex, would you be able to recuse yourself from voting on B through D?
Yes, I can recuse myself.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with A then. For item 3A, I'd like to put forward a vote, starting with Alex Vera.
Recuse myself.
And Captain Otting. Or not, sorry, Chief Hallahan, sorry, Captain. Apologies,
Yes.
I'm just going on. Yes, excellent. Voted in yes. Karen Carroll.
Yes.
Oh, Karen, are you as well? Yes. And myself, yes, which is 3, and then a abstain. Excellent. So that moves for approval. The renewal is approved. And the recuse for Alex. Great. So I would like to move to vote on
I think you'll
agenda
need,
item.
for a quorum, I think you'll need to pass this through Tom.
Oh, that's right.
Because you'll need 5.
Recuse. Oh, that's right. And Tom isn't here. Okay, you're right. Thanks, Lee. Okay, so let's move to agenda items B or 3 B through D. I'd like to move to vote. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Excellent. Alex?
I'll have to recuse myself again.
Oh, you have to recuse for all of these, don't you?
Yeah,
Except, I thought you said celerity was not.
celerity is not. I could vote on that.
So, okay.
It
So,
might,
I'm
it might
sorry.
be tomorrow though. I don't know.
Okay, gotcha. Well, okay.
I'll be,
That makes
I'll be happy to vote yes on for celerity.
okay. So that's 4. Okay, so that's 4. So that one moves forward for renewal. Let me follow up with Tom again, see if he's available. Apologies, everybody. Thank you for bringing that up, Lee. I miscounted. Okay. I'll let's table 3 for the time being, and then we'll come back to it if Tom's able to join us. But I'd like to move to agenda item number 4, which is the discussion of the IBC reporting requirements under SBC policies and procedures for the 2024 application and renewal cycle. I know currently we're requiring that they give us the minutes, the protocol of summaries of work and whether or not they're approved, the updates on membership with emails and phone numbers and addresses for all members, and then any major changes to the biosafety manual or floor plans. But is there anything in the IBC documentation that we could be asking for additional information for that will help in our analysis for renewals in 2024? I'll open the floor to any suggestions. The reason why I ask is I just want to make sure that we're all receiving the information we need and changes to our respective, professions and knowledge bases that could be helpful for future review. But if there's nothing for now, we can continue the conversation in the future, and I'm happy to take suggestions at future meetings. But we will. I'd like to move to agenda item number 5, which is going to be a review for completion for new applications. So we have 2 very exciting operations that are looking to set up shop here in Somerville. At 100 Chestnut Street at floor 2 is Ultragenics. I'm looking forward to reviewing their work a little more in depth at our next meeting. But for now, I'd like to just review for completion. It looks like they submitted all of their documentation. All of the information that we request as a committee is present, and it's actually very thoroughly done, as we saw. It's very well broken down. It's very systematic, especially in their emergency response and health surveillance programs. So we can't vote until Tom comes. But I will be sure to take any questions or comments if anyone has anything about Ultragenics. Anything?
That's sad to report that they're a customer also.
Okay. 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 I'm sending another follow-up to Tom. Thank you for letting me know that, Alex. I appreciate that. And so I sent the follow-up to Tom. Great. Sorry, everyone. I'm bouncing back and forth between like 4 things. The other application, the new application we have, is for Bristol Myers Squibb, setting up shop at 250 Water Street. They submitted all of their documentation. As you could imagine, a company as big as this one has sort of their ducks in a row and is able to provide very, very thorough information to us. However, there were 2 documents that I'm sure everyone saw. The emergency response contingency plan contained Cambridge emergency contact information, not Somerville contact information. I'll be sending them a request to update that and then resubmit to ensure that fire is listed, police is listed, as well as the biosafety committee contacts are listed on there. So that was one issue. So that would disqualify them for completion currently. And then also they had referenced a pest control contract in their summary statement from Waltham Pest Control, but I'm going to send them a request to provide the actual contract to ensure that there's a frequency of visits listed and treatment types, which are pretty important in pest control plans. So I'll be sure to check with them about resubmission. Okay, does anyone have any comments about Bristol Myers Squibb's application? Anything that you noticed that we could send back for clarification? Yeah, Lee.
Is this a mixed use building? And if so, are the restaurants or whoever else it is submitting pest control plans as well?
That is a great question, Lee, and that is something that I know you had submitted a records request for the 101 South Street, and I think that's something the city should be considering to ensure that that all tenants have individual pest control plans, not just building wide, to ensure that there aren't pests cross-contaminating things, and we have some serious situations. So that's something I'm considering on my end as the rats are for the city. So as of now, no, but in the future, I think that's something that we should definitely be doing, and ISD can take that on in my capacity. So great. All right, so I haven't gotten a response from Tom. So we are gonna wait. Let's see. Okay. All right, since we have time and we kind of want Tom to join so we can vote on these items, I'd like to move to item number 6, which is going to be a discussion about.
Hey, Colin, can I just
Oh,
skip in for 1 second?
yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I was
Chief.
just communicating with the chief of the department about
Yeah.
250 Water Street.
Okay.
That's kind of in a funny spot. It's in Somerville technically, but I think that Cambridge is going to be initial response for that building.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think that those
Okay.
contacts for Cambridge Fire might satisfy you.
Okay. All right.
I mean, if it's a large incident, we'll probably end up there, but I think the initial
Yeah.
response is going to be Cambridge Fire Department.
Yeah. Is it helpful for them to even list you guys if Cambridge are already on there, or does that just cause confusion in response?
I would just
What's your
keep it
opinion?
as Cambridge has the notifications, and they can notify
Okay.
us.
Okay. But is it common for, people in the community to also contact you guys directly if they're on the Somerville side, for example?
Sure, I would think
Oh,
but I mean, for application purposes, I think they've satisfied that.
okay. Okay. I made that note and I'll strike that from my recommendation request. So I will strike that now. Great. Cambridge Silver Building. Excellent. Okay. So anything else about this before I move on to agenda item number 6? No. Okay. Seeing none, I'll move to 6 here, which is the consideration for edits to section 6-59 to the Somerville Biosafety Ordinance, in particular after subsection C, the sentence, in the event there is a conflict between the NIH guidelines and the BMBL shall control. So this has been sort of a hot topic for us, and it's a legacy sentence from our sister ordinance over in Cambridge. However, there are some concerns, and Lee is here if you would like to explain them further for the committee, that they aren't up to snuff, in particular for BSL 3 facilities, that there are certain requirements, like in the national design requirements, that are more stringent and ensure things like power backup, additional HVAC requirements, those types of things. But Lee, if I didn't cover it or summarize it in the best way, I open it to you.
This sentence actually dates from our own 1994 ordinance at a time when there was no NIH design requirements manual. And now that, which covers mostly construction type issues like backup power, plumbing, electrical, and so forth. And there really isn't, there's been a lot of effort to harmonize it with the BMBL, but because of that sentence, an aggressive lawyer might seize on that to do only BMBL. And in fact, we have such an example right now in Davis Square, where they're asserting an absolute right to locate a level 3 lab without the usual precautions. So we could either eliminate that sentence, or we could qualify it. The two sentences above, I think, it already does have a reference to the DRM, the Design Requirements Manual, for level 3. So administratively, we could handle it just by saying we do not believe there is a conflict. And in fact, the one area, there are two areas that I could find that are candidates for litigation. One of them is backup power. The DRM requires a backup power system in the event of a failure, whereas the BMBL, which is concerned mostly with what are called primary barriers, that is internal to the lab, just have provision for evacuation. And the other area, I'm sorry, it just slipped my mind. Oh yes, I'm sorry, I'm blanking out on it at the moment. But in any case, I've had a correspondence and conversation with the head of the Legislative Matters City Council Committee, Lance Davis. He suggested that we might keep the wording, but put the more stringent of the two in it. Oh yes, the other issue, sorry, is ventilation. The DRM is more more restrictive on ventilation than the BMBL. But it does reference the BMBL. A lot of effort has been put into harmonizing these two documents. The only other thing to mention is there is a provision in the ordinance that does give this committee encourages this committee to make recommendations to the city and the city council for changes. So it's very much within the scope of this committee's mandate to suggest a change. I'm not suggesting any specific wording. I'm not a legislative draftsman.
This conference will now be recorded.
Click the wrong button. Yes, absolutely, Lee. And I think that we can open that for discussion with everyone about their opinions on that and changing the language or best practice moving forward. Does anyone have any opinions on that? Any suggestions, comments? No. Yeah. So my next steps, Lee, again, will be to give this to staff and have them review it again, and keep continuing to bring it up as to what the best path forward. And I think those suggestions are definitely going to be a part of the conversation. So I'd like to continue to keep this on the agenda. So I'd like to move to table this and continue it for the next meeting. Can I get a second on that? Oh, there's a cat, my captain. I'd like to table this, and can I get a second to table it for the next meeting? Karen, excellent. So we'll table that for now. Tom has not responded, so we are currently unable to vote on those 5 items. but we'll try to set up another meeting as quickly as possible, just to be conscious of everyone's time.
Is there some way of just resolving to vote pending a final vote by the absentee member without having to reconvene a meeting?
I mean, I'm unaware of that, Lee. Karen and Captain, Chief, have you had any experience in that type of situation?
I don't, yeah, I wouldn't want to, I'm not an expert on open meeting law, but I don't think you can do it. I think the quorum has to be present.
So I
You can
withdraw.
check with the clerk. Yeah.
All right, sorry, Paula, I probably have to agree with that.
Yeah. I'm very cautious. I don't want to violate that, especially with a committee as young as ours, and we're still trying to find our footing. We want to make sure that we're following it to a T. But Alex, thank you for clarifying and making sure that we're staying in good stead, especially with something like this. So.
Yeah, I apologize for that. It hadn't occurred to me that that could be a conflict of interest. So
yeah.
And I really didn't know that they were our customers. So.
Yeah. No, not a problem. We want to be clean cut with everything we do. But with that, I would like to conclude our meeting. Could I get a second to vote to adjourn? Captain, did you have an additional comment?
I had one follow. Oh, go ahead, Chief Hallinan.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
I had one comment on page 7 on the Ultragenics application, 5.2.5. They identify an emergency assembly area, but due to the compressed nature of the use of that space and the positioning of the building in the street, since we're trying to prepare these companies to come to us, come before this group next time well prepared, just wanted to suggest a follow-up that they identify that and ensure that that space can handle what they believe their average building occupancy will be, given hybrid workers, full remote workers, and then on-site workers. And again, I hope this is the right time to bring it up, but we went rather smoothly from this application into Bristol Myers Squibb, but I just did want to bring that up in regards to emergency operations and evacuation.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, any clarifying questions we can have, especially pertaining to safety and their response plan, is something that we would like to bring up to them. And I'll ensure that they cover these topics when they come for their presentations to satisfy those questions. Great. Okay. Is there anything else? Any final comments about anything we've discussed tonight or things that we may want to discuss in the future? Okay, seeing none, I would like to have a motion to vote to adjourn. Excellent. Okay, great. Our Chief Hallinan.
Yes.
Alex Vera.
Yes.
And Karen Carroll.
Yes.
Myself, yes. So vote is to adjourn. Thank you all so much for your time today. Apologies, we couldn't quite meet quorum tonight. We'll try to set up another meeting as quickly as possible to ensure that those renewals go out on time and that we can continue to review the new applications for completeness and approval. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Good night.
Excellent. Thanks again, Lee, for all your help. Really appreciate it.
You run a very good meeting.
Oh, thanks. I'm trying to practice. I've been watching other committees and how they run, and I just think it runs a lot smoothly. A lot more smoothly.
Pity you can't be chairman, but I think you need another person.
Yes.
The real lesson about the quorum is that the city really needs to appoint